I hate to break it to the trumpeters in our audience, but no, the FBI director, James Comey, did not reopen an investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. Tons of headlines saying the investigation is back on. Tons of right-wingers and Hillary haters saying, David, you need to talk about this. The investigation is back on. Hillary Clinton is maybe within hours of an indictment. I must have received nearly, I don't know, hundreds of YouTube comments over the weekend demanding that I talk about this. Hundreds of tweets and emails saying you have to talk about this, David, because otherwise you would be very biased. Let's start with what did happen and what did not happen, and I think one will help us figure out the other. First of all, an investigation was done into disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner's computer. Emails turned up during that investigation may relate to Hillary Clinton. How is this possible? Well, the then wife, and now they're in the process of divorcing, Anthony Weiner's then wife, Uma Abedin, is a close aide to Hillary Clinton. This was a shared computer, and therefore there's no surprise at all that there would have been emails on that computer involving Hillary Clinton in some way, shape, or form. Let's now look, and I can't believe more people in the audience didn't do this. This is crazy, Pat. Let's read the letter that FBI Director James Comey wrote and figure out what it says. And to begin with, you will see, really the key paragraph is the middle paragraph. In connection with an unrelated case, the FBI has learned of the existence of emails that appear to be pertinent to the investigation into Hillary Clinton's personal email server, that is. I am writing to inform you that the investigative team briefed me on this yesterday, and I agreed that the FBI should take appropriate investigative steps designed to allow investigators to review these emails to determine whether they contain classified information, as well as to assess their importance to our investigation. Going on to say, although the FBI cannot yet assess whether or not this material may be significant, and I cannot predict how long it will take us to complete this additional work, I believe it is important to update your committees about our efforts in light of my previous testimony. I would invite my friends in the media to read the letter, because the letter does not say that the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, which ended with a statement from FBI Director James Comey that charges were not warranted, that is not back on. In other words, the FBI, Pat, is not re-examining the previous findings. They're saying there are emails here which relate to Hillary Clinton in some way. We need to look at those emails. We need to determine whether they contain classified information, and we need to look into whether there is any connection at all to Hillary Clinton's private email server or anything related to that. That's all this is saying.
Yeah, and the whole media has been sensationalizing this story and just basically indicting her themselves. We don't know if this has anything to do with the case whatsoever.
No doubt.
And I mean, people are already voting. Like, it's time to get this investigation going.
Yeah. I know that this has nothing to do with NFL football and the New England Patriots, but remember that entire Deflategate thing, Pat, involving New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady and some underinflated balls? And the report came out and it said, well, I'm paraphrasing, but it's been determined that it is more likely than not that Tom Brady had some general knowledge of the fact that the team's staff was aware that he preferred balls inflated to the low end of the inflation spectrum. Brady underinflated the balls himself, was the conclusion of many. Again, Comey said, we're trying to figure out whether these newly discovered emails contain classified information that might be relevant to the Clinton server probe, which has not been fully reopened as an investigation. Right-wingers going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, totally off the rails, worse than what a Sarah Palin speech about 18th century Russian literature would go. The problem, though, is that even if right-wingers merely think the investigation has been reopened, it could hurt Hillary Clinton. It could, and I know you're right, early voting has begun, but it could hurt Hillary Clinton, and that's why the motivation of this is being discussed. And we've heard justice officials say, you know, the FBI doesn't really comment on ongoing investigations. Former Bush Attorney General Alberto Gonzales was on CNN this morning, and he said, I don't get it. This is a Republican we're talking about. I don't get it because the policy is not to comment on ongoing investigations, and we're not going to know anything by November 8th. That's the truth.
And like the Deflategate story, this is kind of the story that keeps coming back, right?
Yeah.
And James Comey, he was kind of damned if he did, damned if he didn't, because if we waited after the election, then he would have gotten a lot more scrutiny from right-wingers, and it seems like he was just kind of trying to cover his bases.
This actually goes back to something that other justice officials, legal experts have been saying, which is the original press conference that Comey gave actually was the mistake, because the FBI does investigations all the time. And more often than not, they never comment at the conclusion of those investigations, right? Think of if the FBI regularly commented on investigations that don't go anywhere, it would be a constant stream of press conferences where the FBI says, here's 100 investigations we did and none of them turned up anything criminal and we're not going to be moving further. Now, you could make the case, well, this was related to the election. It was of national interest in some way. You can make that case. But ideally, these organizations are not political. And you could argue, Pat, that even the original press conference to announce that nothing was going to happen, that arguably was the mistake that opened up the door to this entire thing.
Right. I mean, this is the whole reason why they wanted to get this over and done with back in July. The fact that it's resurfaced now with a week before the election, I mean, it's really just a case of bad timing.